The Philippines unfolds like a living tapestry, every thread woven by wind, water, earth, and sunlight, each moment strung together by time and etched with wonder. Imagine stepping onto an island where the air itself hums with life. Warm, briny, scented with salt and jungle foliage, heavy yet inviting, and alive with the soft trills of tropical birds and the distant crash of waves. Here, emerald jungles spill down mist-shrouded ridges, dense with ferns, orchids, and vines that coil around towering dipterocarp trunks. The canopy overhead is a mosaic of leaves, filtering shafts of golden light that dance upon damp undergrowth, ringed by root tangles and hidden pools. The forest floor glistens after rain, spongy with moss and scattered with the shimmer of fallen petals. Climb higher, and you reach slopes carved by time, washed in jade hues. The mountains stand like watchful guardians over the valleys below. Rivers emerge from the heights, silver ribbons glinting as they wind through forests, their courses fed by countless springs pooling in secluded niches. Among these hidden realms, waterfalls drop in silken curtains, splashing into crystalline pools ringed by smooth boulders and carved flags of rock. Stand beneath one, the roar of water pounding earth, the spray cool against your skin, mist mingling with the soft hum of cicadas. Feel the pulse of nature in its rawest form. Beyond the jungles and rivers, volcanoes rise in perfect majesty. Mount Mayon, the Philippines' most iconic cone, looms above the landscape with flawless symmetry. Clad in emerald forests that clamber up its flanks, it is both serene and seething with untamed power. Smoke sometimes drifts from its summit, a pale plume that drifts across the sky like a signal, reminding all who look up of the molten heart within. To reach the foothills is to tread between worlds, between serenity and storm, past calm farmlands where rice paddies stand ankle-deep in water, reflecting the sky in liquid mirrors. And speaking of rice paddies, venture into the Cordilleras, and you encounter humanity's masterpiece, the Banaue rice terraces. Etched into mountain slopes over 2 millennia ago, these terraces ripple across the landscape like giant staircases to heaven. Each terrace is lined with stacked stones and nurtured by engineered irrigation, fed by mountain streams. Walk along their earthen ridges at dawn when fog drifts low, and you might imagine the terraces floating on clouds. Steps of green suspended above valleys, every level shimmering with fertility and tradition. Farmers in straw-brimmed salicots tend rice seedlings, their figures reflected in still water. You hear the tiny splash as a bird lands on a terrace brim, or the soft footfalls of a farmer gently turning soil. Time here is measured by seasons, the tender spring of planting, the emerald growth, and finally the golden harvest, when entire hillsides glow like molten honey. Descend from the highlands, and the landscape shifts again. Lowlands cradle rivers that weave through broad floodplains, past verdant villages and the occasional Baroque church dotting a plaza. Here coconut palms sway in choreographed dance, their fronds tapping rhythms to the breeze while fishermen push narrow bancas into tidal creeks. These shores, often framed with mangrove forests, serve as nurseries for aquatic life, where mud skippers hop and mud crabs scuttle beneath roots. At dusk, fireflies rise from the mangroves in flickering parades, their golden flashes mirrored in the water, turning the forests into shimmering cathedrals of light. On the open coast, limestone cliffs loom, karst formations sculpted over millennia. Their jagged silhouettes carve the horizon, rising from turquoise seas and dramatic spires. Hidden lagoons nestle behind, accessible only by kayak or narrow boardwalks. Paddle through emerald passages carved by tidal buoyancy, meandering between sheer stone walls, draped in vines and ferns, until you emerge into calm waters encircled by cliffs. Here, the sun filters through narrow openings above, casting dusky beams on shimmering sand. Underwater, coral gardens bloom beneath the surface, suns of life in underwater meadows. Schools of tropical fish, yellow tangs, clownfish, parrotfish, flit among brain and staghorn corals, which rise like miniature cities. Sea cucumbers and starfish recline on the seabed, while anemones sway gently, home to bold clownfish. In these waters, turtles glide slowly, their shells etched with algae. And if you're lucky, you may scan the horizon underwater and glimpse the shadowy shape of a whale shark gliding past. Silent, majestic. Tucked along hidden stretches of coast lie powdery beaches that seem to stretch to infinity. White sand that feels like sifted silk between your toes, warmed by the sun and cool as it kisses the waves. Palms arch overhead, their fronds rustling in a gentle concerto as the tide rises. On secluded shores, time stretches. You can sit with a fresh bangus, milkfish, grilled over coconut charcoal, locally caught and salted just right, weightless on the tongue beside tangy akara. A single dusted halo of sun filters through the canopy as you sip calamansi juice, small citrus fruits that pop with tart sweetness. In some places, the beach isn't just a beach, it's alive with life's beginnings. Sea turtles come ashore under the cover of night to lay eggs in nests dug deep in the sand. At dawn, volunteers gently unearth the clutches and move the eggs to protected hatcheries. Days later, the hatchlings emerge, trembling in moonless night before racing toward the glinting horizon. Their sprint is dramatic, fearless. They burst from the sand in numbers, scampering over dunes, carried by instinct, toward the embrace of the sea. Once they reach deeper water, they swim out to sea as if launched. It is a miracle viewed in miniature. Journey inland again, and you may enter dense forest sanctuaries where the call of the wild is undiluted. The tarsiers cling to slender branches, their enormous eyes reflecting starlight even at noon. You spot one frozen mid-freeze, gripping the limb as though fossilized in living statues. Listen, it's nearly silent, yet its presence is palpable. Patience yields glimpses of its delicate hands, huge head, and big round ears. A slower footstep in quiet understory reveals the rustle of monitor lizards or the dizzying wingspan of hornbills. Epiphytes cling overhead, orchids, bromeliads, and ferns that nest in crooks of branches, scenes within scenes, miniature ecosystems afloat. Moving eastward, you enter gentler lowland expanses dotted with rice paddies, coconut groves, and shaggy hills that roll into the horizon. Among these, the chocolate hills of Bohol emerge, a sea of hundreds, maybe thousands, of uniform dome-shaped hills. In the dry season, grasses crest these conical nods and turn bronze, turning the region into a surreal expanse that glows like melted chocolate. At sunrise or sunset, golden light glosses each dome in ethereal luminescence. Walk along raised viewing platforms to witness the expanse. So regular in shape and pattern, it seems like the hand of a sculptor shaped them. But they are nature's artistry, molded by eons of rain and erosion. Not far beyond, veins of limestone tunnels crisscross underground, tracing the paths of rivers that emerge through cave openings. Kayak into subterranean realms like Puerto Princesa's underground river, gliding beneath arches that soar overhead, borne aloft by water flowing against a current. Light is stolen away here. Lanterns guide your way, revealing formations, stalactites dripping like icicles, stalagmites rising from the floor like stone sentries. Occasionally a boatman will row in darkness, breaking the surface of silence with platitudes, his voice echoing through the cathedral corridors. Bats wheel overhead, unseen, and faint the scent of guano, an ecosystem built on droppings and time. Back above ground, as daylight pools shift, islands sparkle. Over 7,600 of them, each with a distinct personality. You may discover one islet where bleached driftwood and white sand dominate, another where green hills plunge into cobalt depths, another thick with coconut palms and echoing with the hiss of palm weaver birds. Each morning, a fanfare unfolds. Roosters crow, fisher folk launch slender boats, nets cast in arcs, oars beat rhythmically in the shallows, and water reflects the blush of dawn as it edges up from the horizon. Fishermen ply their trade in traditional methods: board-hanging traps, bamboo barriers, simple lines, blending age-old practices with modern preservation efforts aimed at sustainable harvesting. Sunsets in the Philippines are moments carved by hand. On the western shore, the sun lowers slowly, burning brilliant golds and crimsons across the sky. It seems to pause as if reluctant to depart, as the sea carries its reflection on waves. Coconut palms are backlit to silhouettes, and each breath becomes a prayer. You might stroll barefoot along the receding tide, writing letters on sand that will be washed away, or simply stand and watch until the twilight blue deepens and the first stars appear. At night, the land and sea transform. Fireflies and mangroves create ephemeral constellations. Bioluminescent plankton light up gently beneath waves, and phosphorescence sparks with every footstep or froth of a wave. On clear nights, the sky becomes a canopy of diamonds, the Milky Way arching overhead. Near the equator, the southern sky hosts constellations unfamiliar to northern eyes, and meteor showers sometimes streak overhead, leaving whispers of light. In the wetlands and coastal lagoons, night brings out creatures you won't see by day. Large railbirds stalking the mud, bitterns whirring skyward with sudden flaps of wings, kingfishers roosting quietly among mangrove branches. Listen in the dark. Frogs trill in chorus, insects hum in swarms, and somewhere a palm civet or bat song whispers through the darkness. In certain seasons, leatherback turtles come ashore, gargantuan visitors whose life cycles pulse with the moon's light, the same moon guiding diggers of nests in anonymity. Everywhere you travel, the presence of people connects with the land in immediate, perceptible ways. Farmer families work with the rhythm of rains and sunshine. Indigenous communities in the highlands continue ancestral rituals of planting and harvest, leaving offerings to rice gods and processing grains using traditional methods. Coastal villages by the corals promote reef-friendly tourism, glass-bottom boats for early snorkeling rather than dynamite blasts, seagrass restoration projects, community-run hatcheries for endangered turtles. Nature is intertwined with livelihood, and reverence for place resonates in daily life. There are hidden trails through jungles where orchids bloom on cliff faces, rare forest ferns that capture drops of dew on delicate fronds. Misty peaks may hide ghostly spider webs glinting with beads of dew. Wildlife trails may reveal footprints of wild pigs, the rustle of squirrels leaping branch to branch, or the signature kachik of kingfishers diving into forest streams. Higher still, cloud forests conceal red-faced monkeys and shy civets. The breeze carries the scent of wet earth, moss, and rotting leaves, a scent that speaks of life's cycle, of decay giving rise to renewal. At midday, the sun becomes fierce, heating the earth until paths smolder in dust and leaves crisp at noon's zenith. Water becomes a beacon, trail drops to springs, where cool drips soothe. You may strip off boots, tassel sandals, and paddle toes into mountain pools. If you're lucky, a rainbow arcs over waterfalls, the mist refracting sunlight into arcs of color that hang for a heartbeat. Under those arcs, you stand small but breathless, awed. On forested islands, rain comes suddenly. One moment skies are clear, the next they brood with thunderheads. A downpour falls, sheets of rain vibrating the air, and temperatures drop as drops pound on leaves. Within minutes, the dripping forest gleams. Raindrops gather into rivulets, hillside springs gurgle to life, and puddles of egg-yellow light reflect palm crowns. Thunder rolls distant, and the rhythm is immersive. After mist rises, washing the world in silver coating. Snails emerge. Frogs bellow in relief. Air is clean and electric. Coastal dunes shift slowly, speargrass waving in wind. At times, debris is carried ashore. Driftwood bleached to bone, coconut husks, bits of distant timber from other islands. These become nests for shorebirds, beds for hermit crabs, shelters for sea turtle eggs under dune bluffs. On islands with seas of grass, skim-winged sanderlings dash along the tide line, only to retreat as waves roll in, then quietly return when the foam withdraws. In certain islands choked with limestone, you may enter labyrinths of caves beyond underground rivers. One such place, Sagada, presents hanging coffins, wooden boxes perched on cliffs, funeral traditions that hang the dead above forest floors, believed to stay closer to ancestral spirits. Entering such a cave is entering another mindset, blending the physical with the spiritual. An homage to heritage and reverence for the cycle of ancestry and nature. Travel by bangsa from one island to another is a ritual in itself. Outrigger-armed boats slicing the sea, engines humming, waves slapping gently against bamboo poles. At dawn, fishers weave through reefs, nets cast to the rhythm of tides, luminous fish lifting in schools. Small communities greet passing boats with waves and calls. Mabuhay! Ringing across the water. A warm welcome to stranger and local alike. Even remote islands have their own flares of civilization. Small churches built on ridgelines, with red-tiled roofs and bell towers set among palms and hills. School children, uniforms fresh and crisp, occasionally watch a traveler pass, curious eyes bright. Markets brim with jugs of vinegar, baskets of mangoes, bananas, abaca fibers. Vivid, cluttered, bursting with color, smell, and vitality. Laughter and chatter fill stalls where goods are bartered or sold, where shrimp, squid, and shellfish glisten on ice, where silks hang beside coconut oils, where life spools itself outward in all senses. Wetlands and mangrove forests form vital transition zones. The land meets sea in a brackish embrace. Mangrove roots lace water in an intricate tangle. Mud masks the feet of birds that stalk within. At certain cataloged times of day, millions of mud crabs surge, a writhing crowd moving in rhythm with the tide. That mud supports juvenile fish, shrimp, and life cycles of generations. Birds cluster on exposed roots, elegant herons with long S-neck profiles, glossy ibises, kingfishers strung bright like sparklers along branches. In dim light, their reflections double beneath the calm water. Seawalls and cliffs, dull slopes of reef limestone, may hold secret pools, natural saltwater jacuzzis carved by waves, pools that retain tidal water long after the sea recedes. People gather at such tubat, as named locally, families, children playing, elders chatting. Pinky finger-sized fish dart among legs. Waves break over the rim and drum against cliffs. Island people may call it music. In the sky, above mountains, vultures and eagles ride thermals, their wings wide and drifting. Swallows swirl in dizzying dives. In certain places, fruit bats leave their roosts at dusk in flapping black clouds, carrying seeds to distant hills. By contrast, at ground level, the cicadas crescendo in rolling choruses, and night fields turn into deep rooms of sound. Even island infrastructure often blends into this canvas. Roads carved out of the hills pass beneath green arches. Concrete bridges span streams that glisten silver under midday sun. In some remote villages, footbridges of woven bamboo connect narrow ridges. Traditional houses, Bahay Kubo, rise on stilts with nipa thatch, open sides, airy eaves. Inside, bamboo slat floors, wooden benches, handfuls of rice sacks. You hear the clatter of wood on wood as a barangay elder sands bamboo floors, or the hum of weaving. And in all seasons, the weather dances with unpredictability. Two distinct monsoons shift the mood. Habagat, the southwest monsoon, brings dramatic rains July through October, when storms sweep in from the Pacific, lightning-struck skies over the sea, surf crashing thunderous on eastern coasts. Then Amihan, the northeast wind, arrives November through February, bringing cooler breezes and crystal skies, gentle waves, morning mists in highlands. Between them, summer months, March to May, bring heat waves and quick rains. Seas sparkle endlessly blue. Beaches brim with life. Children play in shallows. Tropical storms sometimes barrel through, carving swaths of rain and wind, knocking palms skeletal. Yet after such tempests, the land regenerates with astonishing speed. Green returns within days. Flowers open like survivors. Birdsong resumes anew. It is a place accustomed to both resilience and vulnerability. Volcanoes erupt, typhoons surge. But from this raw force comes a spiritual reckoning with nature's cycles. Philippine biodiversity is staggering. In forest clearings, tree trunks harbor flickers and woodpeckers, all part of an intricate food web. The national bird, the Philippine eagle, soars rare and mighty. You may glimpse it high above forests, its plume crest glinting as it scans slopes for prey. In river valleys, estuaries, and mangroves, crocodiles lie still beneath branches, motionless except for ripples from passing fish. Visayan warty pigs root among leaves in woodlands. In marine protected areas, reef sharks cruise deeper bowls. Rays glide on flat wings and dolphins surface in pods, their chords of clicks and whistles carrying across still mornings. The culture pulses in harmony with these environments. Rituals and festivals, like the Ati-Atihan of Calibo or the Kamulan of Bukidnon, celebrate ancestral heritage, dance, music, resilience. Costume and rhythm echo tribal stories of earth, harvest, and sea. Eucharist processions thread through Spanish-era churches, their stone facades softened by vines and thyme, their interiors fragrant with incense, carved icons glittering in candlelight. In markets, hand-woven textiles shimmer with ancestral patterns. Fisherwomen winnow nets with practiced motion. Indigenous elders tell stories, epics of creation, flood, gods and heroes, rooted in demonstration of place, animal, mountain, mangrove, reef. Food emerges through this intersection of nature and craft. The national dish, adobo, simmers in soy and vinegar. Tangy quinoa spiced with ginger and chili, balancing the tang of fresh ceviche-like fish. Sweet puso rice cooked in coconut leaves. In lowlands, pandan rice and grilled galunggong. In Mindanao, vibrant Muslim-influenced dishes like pastel with coconut cream and spices. In places like Siargao, farm-to-table flourishes where sea urchin omelets, ginger tamarind soups, pandan cocktails, and durian sweets sit alongside surfers chatting beneath palms. Surf culture has emerged on eastern shores. Siargao's Cloud9 Reef Punch breeds perfect barrels. Surfers from around the world gather on boardwalks at dawn, shifting stances on boards, paddling into dawnlight. Beachfront cafes serve black coffee in tumblers, and yoga sessions stretch toward sunrises. After rides, surfers drift in sea foam, smiles wide. Adventure waits on trails through primary forest, leading to high waterfalls like Tinuyan Falls. Walls of water hundreds of feet wide, crashing in multi-tiered pavilions. Hikers summit ridges for sunrise. Mount Pulag in Luzon stands above the clouds in winter, offering seas of cloud like a dream world beneath you. Peaks like Mount Canlaon or Mount Apo challenge climbers. Active cones whose rims offer views over archipelagic horizons. Yet serenity also lingers. Ride a banca through Bacuit Bay in El Nido at dawn, when jagged karst islands rise like dark spires from mirror-glass water. The quiet is complete but for lapping waves. Paddle into secret beaches, hidden lagoons like Kayangan in Coron, where limestone walls glint in morning sun. Swim in hidden blue hole benches, shells soft beneath fins. Snorkel in shallow ribbon reefs at dusk. Fish flit, rays skid across sand, and twilight drifts with the current. All these places are threaded by land, sea, air, time, memory. The Philippines is not just a destination, but living mosaic, a kaleidoscope where every turn yields new colors, sounds, textures, and stories that blend modern life, tradition, wilderness, and community. To walk here is to feel the heartbeat of the earth. To breathe is to taste freedom. To listen is to learn ancestry. To look is to be humbled. On the final evening of any journey here, you may find yourself on a small island beach, coals still warm from a fire where fish was grilled, palm fronds rattling overhead, tide breathing gently under moonlight. You might trace the curve of a glowworm across driftwood, feel the creak of wood boards as friends gather quietly, laughter spilling softly, a guitar strumming off-key but full of heart. Above, constellations burn, a shooting star arcs, the night is still, and you realize that the Philippines and its riotous beauty and its quiet heartbeats remains forever an experience that becomes part of you. A vivid memory, an ache of longing, a promise that when you return, nature will greet you again with open arms, and you too will return with open soul.